Hello, welcome back. This is part 5 of chapter 3. After a market reaches its equilibrium, it's going to stay there for a while until some economic factors changes that can push the equilibrium to another position. So we are going to study that in this part. Case number 1, how does an increase in income affect the restaurant meals market? So before you do the analysis, you should underline 2 keywords. The first keyword is you have to ask yourself, what market are you talking about? So here it says restaurant meals market. So you underline that and tells yourself, okay, I need to remember this. So this is point number 1. Point number 2 is inside the same statement, you need to identify what factors that is changed, which will lead to the restaurant meals market to change. So here it says increase in income. So increase in income is the second keyword you should underline before you do the analysis. Okay? Very good. Now let's take a look at step 1. Step 1, draw the supply and demand diagram for the meals market. Now let's draw that. So first you draw the 2 axes, vertical and horizontal. It looks like a capital letter L, isn't it? Second, you draw a capital letter X that looks like this. One is demand, one is supply. After that, you label them. So here is price, quantity, downward sloping is the demand, D, upward sloping curve is the supply. When supply and demand meet, that point is equilibrium point. So you mark all of them like this. Okay. Next, you put the equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity also on the axis. So yes, this is what step 1 looks like. You draw the supply and demand diagram for the meal market before anything change. And then we go to step 2, identify the factor that changed the market. In this example, it is the increase in the demand. So it's a second keyword, which is our step 2. Very good. And then we move on to step 3. Which side of the market got affected, demand or supply? Okay, so in step 2, we said increase in income. So this income are buyer's income. So when buyer's income increase, what happened to the meals market? They go out and eat more, right? So since the buyer is on the demand side, so point number 3, demand got affected. Increase or decrease? What do you think? Income increase, demand increase, isn't it? Very good. So this is step number 3. Step number 4, indicate the change in the diagram. So when demand increase, the demand curve is going to shift. It's not going to be on the original position. Shift to what direction do you remember? Shift to the right, isn't it? Yes. So this is the new demand curve. Once the demand curve shifts to the new position, the original equilibrium is no longer exist. It moved to this point here. So you have a new equilibrium point. So point number 4, which is indicates the new change in the diagram, is this new equilibrium, the new demand curve and the new equilibrium point. Step number 5, report the change in equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. So you can see that this time in the new equilibrium, the price goes up to here. So this is a new equilibrium price, and the new equilibrium quantity goes to here. So how do you report it? You report it as point number 5. Oops. Equilibrium price goes higher because it compared to the original one now is in a higher position. And equilibrium quantity is also higher than before. So when income increase, it always push both the price and the quantity higher. Okay. Hey guys, when I was talking about step number 2 in case 1, I think I make a small mistake. I said increase in demand. In fact, it should be increase in income. Sorry about that. Okay, so let's take a look at case number 2. What happens to the cheese market if the price of milk increases? Okay, first we are going to underline number 1. What market are you talking about? So we see the word market here, and then we see what cheese. Okay, so we are going to study the cheese market. Number 2, which factor affect the cheese market? Price of milk increase, isn't it? So this is keyword number 2. We need to keep that in mind. Very good. All right, so let's follow the steps. Step number 1, draw the supply and demand diagram. Do you remember how to do that? Capital letter L and capital letter X. After that, label them, right? Let's do it. So this is what it looks like. After you draw the capital letter L and X, you just label all of the curve and indicate where the original equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity is. Okay, now move to step 2. Step 2, identify the factor that changed the market. We have done that in here, keyword number 2. So price of milk increase, that is step number 2. All right, step number 3, which side of the market got affected, demand or supply? All right, whether it's a demand or supply, we need to take a look at step number 2, price of milk increase. We have to ask ourselves, does the price of milk increase affect the demand of cheese or the supply of cheese? Because we're talking about the cheese market. Now, it is not the demand side, right? Our demand for cheese depends on the buyer's income, the buyer's preference, the buyer's side. But here, who cares about the price of milk more? It is the producer. Why? Because we use milk to make cheese. Yes? Very good. So it is the supply side that gets affected because milk is a major material to produce cheese. Okay, now increase or decrease. Price of milk increase means input price increase. Input price increase means it costs the farm more money to make cheese, so their profit will go down. Because of that, supply goes down. So this is step number 3. Step number 4 is indicate a change in the diagram. When supply decrease, the supply curve shift to the left. So that is what point 4 goes. You shift the supply curve to the left shift. Okay, and then you can find out that now there is a new equilibrium point that is in here. The original equilibrium point is no longer exist. So from the new equilibrium point, you take a note of the new equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. So you'll find out that the price actually goes higher, right? As for the equilibrium quantity, it actually goes lower. So that is what you will use to report the changes in equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity in step number 5. Yeah, so that is the report. Are you doing okay with this? Do you understand? One thing you should remember is when there is an increase in either a supply or a demand, the curve always shifts to the right. If there is a decrease, it always shifts to the left. It doesn't matter which side of the market, demand side or supply side. As long as increase, shift to the right, decrease, shift to the left. Okay? Case number 3. How does a technological advancement in production affect the automobile market? Okay, highlight 2 keywords, right? Number 1 is what market are you talking about, right? Okay, so this is keyword number 1. And then keyword number 2 is what factors? Factor is technological advancement, right? So this is keyword number 2. Okay, good. Now move on to step 1. Draw the supply and demand diagram. Can you do that? Very good. Let's try. Capital letter L, capital letter X, and then label them. Yeah, so can you do it like this? I'm sure you can. Okay, very good. If you cannot catch up with me, you can pause the video and finish working on it, okay? So that is step 1. Step 2, you know step 2 already, right? It is the same as here. Technological advancement is the factor that changed the market. Step number 3, which side of the market got affected, demand or supply? What do you think? Technological advancement. Buyers care about that, or sellers or producers care about that? Producers, isn't it? Producers of automobile market, they are the one who care about technological advancement. So because of that, what happened? Supply, right? Supply increase or decrease? Increase. Technological advancement means that we know how to apply the scientific knowledge into the production of automobiles. So it must be the fact that we can produce more. Okay, so supply of automobile increase. All right, so let's move on to step number 4. Indicate the change in the diagram. Supply increase means what? Means the supply curve shift. Shift to what direction? Shift to the right, isn't it? Very good. Increase always shift to the right. Very good. So you label all of this new supply curve and also label the new equilibrium point. So this is your new equilibrium point. And in the new equilibrium point, let's find out where is the new equilibrium price and quantity. When I was taping case number 3, towards the end, for what reason the mic doesn't pick up my sound. However, you can still see what's the result in step number 5. So I'm sorry about that. Okay, let's continue with case number 4. Russians like chicken legs produced in USA and they import a lot. How does this affect the chicken leg market? What I mean is chicken leg market in the United States. So 2 keywords, right? Okay, and the market is chicken leg market. All right, and then what is the factor? The factor is Russians import. Russians buy chicken leg from the United States, right? So this is the second keyword, and the first keyword is chicken leg market. Okay, now let's draw the supply and demand diagram of the chicken leg market. Okay, so we have the original one, except we need to write down the equilibrium and indicate the original equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. Okay, so this is step 1. Alright, step 2, identify the factor that changed the market. Alright, so the Russians purchase chicken leg from the US. That is number 2. Alright, number 3, which side of the market got affected? What do you think? Demand side or supply side? Russians buy chicken legs from the US market. That is a demand, isn't it? We just have more buyers purchase chicken leg, so demand. Increase or decrease? Increase, right? I know you know it is an increase in demand. Very good. Now, shift the demand curve to what direction now? So this is the demand. Remember, it must be the demand side. So you shift the demand curve to the right, right? Because demand increase, the curve shift to the right. Very good. So this is point number 4, shift to the right. Okay, point number 5 now. Point number 5 is report the change in equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. What do you think? Okay, so the market shift to a new equilibrium, and this caused the price to go up, and the quantity also goes higher. So in point number 5, when you report the change, you should say equilibrium price goes higher, and say equilibrium quantity goes also higher because it shifts to the right, isn't it? Very good. You learn a lot from this chapter, isn't it? Good job. So here comes some bonus again. You can find this worksheet in the lecture notes, or you can just pause the video and take a look at what the questions are. After you complete this, take a quiz named Bonus Chapter 3 COVID-19. Even though the question in the quiz are multiple choice, but basically they are the same. Okay, so this is the end of chapter 3. Good luck everyone. Happy learning. Okay, I'll see you in the next chapter.